So I'm just going to do a quick drawing of exactly what I'm going to do. So top is going to be made out of a piece of scaffolding board, and it's probably going to be about 12 inches by about 9, and then it's going to have the framework with some hairpin style legs on the front, something along that sort of lines. These are going to be 6 inches, and we'll make these on the go, and then measurements will come apparent as we build the whole thing. This is going to be finished in a brie wax antique pine, and the lady would like this in a nice grey colour. So we'll get on with that now. So I've just had a little dig around the shop, and I found these two pieces here, which will make the legs, and these two pieces here, which would be good for the stretchers, and a larger scaffolding board here, which will make the seat or the step out of. First thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut these in half. These are both 15.5 inches, so we're looking at about so just got about 7.5 there, and about 7.75. 7.75. So we'll cut these. Both legs are going to be 6 inches high, so we'll just chop these down first. So I'm just going to set my miter saw, and I move it over to 0 degrees, making sure the saw's switched off at the mains. That is perfectly square. We're at about 1 degree off where the miter saw says it should be. So now guys, I'm going to cut each leg down to its final length, which will be 6 inches. So I mark the first one up. Square that off. And then I'm just going to cut this one and then mark straight off this one onto the other remainder of the 3 legs. And what I did is I cut the worst side of the timber off, so I was left with a nice piece of timber on each side. So I get the next piece, line it up nice and square. Mark up, and I use this one for the remainder of the cuts. If you use the same block, you get a consistent mark on each piece. Then I'm going to use this adjustable bevel, guys, to decide exactly what angle I want the taper to be at for the legs. I want approximately about 1 inch to 1.5 inches on the ground, so we've got a nice stable platform for when the child's standing on this. And we've got to remember that the stretcher is going to attach to the leg as well. So I'm going to go for about there. It's only what's aesthetically pleasing to the eye, so I can mark the first one up, and then from there I'll mark the remainder up when I've made this cut. I'm also going to cross-reference the lines across the top and the side. So when I make the cut with my Japanese pull saw, I've got a good line to follow for a nice straight cut. So what I do is I just place it on my workbench, and I'm going to use the Japanese pull saw, and I'm just going to use my thumb as a guide to get a nice straight cut, and I'm going to use the blade which is designed for cross cutting. And there we are. Now I can mark the remainder of the pieces. With this one. So they're all exactly the same. Get rid of that corner because that's the most unpretty. And we'll just continue to cut these. So I just repeated that process, guys, and we've cut all the legs to shape, ready for the next stage. Now we're going to cut the stretchers. So we've just got to decide how wide the stretchers need to be. So I'm just going to place this leg onto the piece what I'm using for the stretcher, and I'm just going to put a mark. And then we're going to go over to the table saw and cut the stretchers to length. So what I'm doing is, guys, I'm setting the fence to where the line is on the stretcher. And then setting the saw blade height just above the timber. Then I'm going to switch Henry on. Now it's just deciding how long we want the step or seat to be, and I'm going to go for 12 inches. So I'm marking this at 15. I'm going to cut there, and then we're going to square this edge up, which is the rough side, and take a bit of this waste off so we get a nice clean edge at both sides. So what I do now is, guys, is I place the legs on roughly where I think I'm going to want them. That looks about right. Then I get my set square. Oh. And I measure in the distance roughly where the legs are. So I've gone for 1 centimetre in and remove them. Relocate my pencil and I can mark each corner where the corner of the legs are going to sit. This is a nice accurate way to do it with the set square. Then I replace the legs where I want them. Now it's exactly where I want them, and then I can mark up the length of the stretchers. So now I know how to cut this one, 2 cuts for the front and back stretcher. So I'll just put FB on there, front and back. And then I get the next one and do the exact same. And do the exact same for the sides. And I'll put S on there for sides. So now we're just having a practice fit, making sure everything goes together nicely. So if there's any adjustments to be made, we can make them there and then. And everything fits together nicely. So now it's a case of sand all the pieces down and then we can start the construction. So just a bit of advice, guys, when you're doing this, the sanding stage. And when I first started doing this, I wasn't wearing a respirator and ear defenders, and quite quickly my ears started becoming a bit sensitive to the loud noises. So I soon learned to definitely put ear defenders on, and you soon get fed up of blowing dust out your nose, and God knows what harm it's doing to your body. So I've got one of these JSP respirators, what I got off Amazon, $16.99, and they do a cracking job. Now it's time to assemble, guys. What we're going to do is we're going to put pocket hole screws through this stretcher into the legs at this side, and then what we're going to do is for the this stretcher, we are not going to be able to put pocket hole screws in there because we'll never get the drill into that piece. So what I do for that one is I pilot a hole, 2 pilot holes, screw into them pilot holes, and then I place a dowel in there to hide the screws. Pocket holes here, and again here. So what we're going to do is then, guys, we're going to use the pocket hole jig. I've got this Triton pocket hole jig here, and we've marked out exactly where we want the pocket holes on the stretchers, and I'll just set this up off camera now and then we'll crack on doing the pocket holes. So I've got the pocket hole jig set up, guys, and what I do is I clamp it securely to the workbench.
Repeat on the other side.
And I've got this 502 wood adhesive which cures in 10 minutes, and I'm going to place that . Make sure everything's aligned nicely. Then I just clamp it to the work surface. Also, guys, when I do this, I don't use the driver because I don't want it to impact and push the screw too deep. I always use my drill. And then I can feel it nip up nicely. And then repeat the process on the other side. So what we're going to do next is, guys, we're going to attach the next set of stretchers. So what I like to do with these ones is, these have to be flush because of the size. I like to have these ones just set back a bit. So again, to make them all equal, we'll set them at a centimetre. And we'll find the pencil again, and we'll just place a mark
exactly where we want them.
And then all we're going to do is we're going to drill the pilot holes like we said, and we're going to use the 8mm drill bit, and we're going to set this depth stop so we're through again approximately 1 centimetre, so we can fit a dowel in there. So I've just flipped the legs over, guys, and I'm just cross-referencing the lines what we put on the other side on this side, and you'll see why in a moment. Yeah, done that one. So this is the outside, and we'd already marked the inside of where we're going to put the stretchers, but we're going to drill through here for the dowels. So I get the dowels in the centre. I've now got 2 lines, and I'll put my dowels exactly in the centre, so it all looks nice, symmetrical and pleasing on the eye. Just going to do the length as well, or the width of the stretcher. And as you can see how far we're going to drill through. And I forgot to say, guys, but I'm using decking screws here, and they work really well for this. So now the frame's all nicely together, guys, we can pop the dowels in. Again, just apply some glue in the holes. And then knock them in. And because I'm a tight Yorkshireman, guys, I don't put the other side in yet, because I'm going to use these offcuts to put in this side. I'm just going to get a damp cloth to wipe any excess glue off.
So just wiping any excess glue off now, guys.
Here we want to put a nice bevel on the seat or the step, and how I do that is I use my block plane, and you could use a router, but I don't really want to listen to a router just for the sake of putting a nice bevel on this seat. So, and it's very nice, I think, therapeutic. So a nicely sharpened block pen. Remove the dowels. Now we're going to do one more sanding. So it's had one last sanding down, guys, and I've just rounded over all the corners to smooth them off, and looks quite nice now. So I'm going to give it a coat of paint to finish that off, and then we're going to put some rustic wax on the seat. It's stopped raining, so I've decided to come outside for a little bit, and I've got this chalk furniture paint, and get this from Aldi, I think, and it's good stuff. You need to thin it down a little bit with a bit of water. It goes on really nice. While I'm waiting for the furniture paint to dry, I'm going to put this brie wax rustic onto the top of the stool.
Really easy to apply, you just need gloves on. And off camera I just gave this one more sand down with 240 grit.
And I personally really like these parts of the scaffolding board what still have the imprint of the writing on. I think they look cool.
Just leave that to dry now. So I'm just putting a bit of glue on. I need to get some new glue dispensers because these are getting way too stiff. Not putting too much on because I don't want it all squelching out the sides.
The finished product. Nice grain on the top, and I like the symbol Still left on there from the scaffolding board. Partially on there. So I hope you enjoyed that build, guys. And that's it. Next one will be back onto the workshop when this rain goes away. No, my workshop floor. See you later, guys.